here. Okay. I think I've unmuted the chat. I'm not sure. If someone can drop a comment just to let us know if the chat box is working, that would be awesome. All right, let's go ahead and get started. So what you're looking at right now, or what you should be seeing, is the employee information screen. And this is quite different than it was before, but there are ways that you can make it similar to what your view was in the old UI. So I just kind of wanted to point some things out so that you can make this as user-friendly for you and your team as possible. So when you log in, the default view is going to look like this. And you'll notice your tabs are along the top left as normal. And then you've got all of your windows on each column. You may have the single column view turned on, which just puts all of these windows in a vertical line rather than 2 lines of items. So if that is switched on, you can change that setting by just toggling this little switch here. So it just kind of depends on how you want to see things. If you like everything all in one line rather than having to look back and forth, this is probably a really good option for you, the single column view. And the cool thing about the single column view at this point is that you have a jump to menu, which allows you to jump to any point of the list of items that are shown on this tab very quickly. So if you pull out this jump to menu, which is on the left-hand side of the windows, that will show you every single window that's available. And let's say I want to go down to pay information. I can quickly click on that and it takes me directly to that window. So it's much easier to navigate if you aren't sure where something is, or if something is at the bottom of the screen, you can use this jump to menu to get to things quickly. I'm going to go ahead and go back to my multi-column view just because that is more similar to what everyone is used to viewing with the old user interface. And I want to show you how to make this as close to what you were seeing before as possible. So essentially what happened is everything that was on the left-hand column is now going from left to right. So it used to be this 2-factor authentication was right below account information, and so on and so forth. And then you have to go about halfway down the screen to get to the personal information right here, which used to be the very first thing in the top right-hand side of the screen. So if you want to make this how it looked before, you can scroll up, go to this edit tabs here. And then you can drag the information that you want to see side by side. So it kind of alternates. So if account information is at the top, that's going to be on the left-hand side. 2-factor authentication is going to be on the right. And then it goes back and forth from left to right. So if I want personal information to be right next to account information like it used to be, I'm just going to drag that personal information up to the top and save. When I go back, now I can see my account information on the left, my personal information on the right, which is what you were seeing in previous versions. So I would say any information that you're not using or any information that you want to add into this view, using the edit tabs and rearranging the information is going to be really, really useful. And then also, you noticed before, this 2-factor authentication was very long because this account information window is very long. So when they're side by side, you have all this extra white space essentially. But if you line things up, such as this benefit profile enrollment override and the two-factor authentication, those are about the same size, it condenses things a little bit. So just another tip there, if you want to put things together so that you eliminate white space, unneeded space, that's another tip. The other thing that I think a lot of people are missing is the profiles. So profiles used to be part of the columns that were shown here, but they are not anymore. Now they are a side panel, just like this jump to menu. So if I go to this side panel for profiles, I can now see all of the profiles that were available in the windows before. At the very top, you have what are called simple profiles. And then at the bottom, you have, I guess, non-simple profiles. They don't really have a name for these, but these are ones that are going to have effective dates associated with them. So if you're familiar with benefit profiles, there are certain dates when those benefit profiles are effective. So those are down below, just to, I guess, eliminate extra space. So these simple profiles are at the top, and then the non-simple are at the bottom. The other cool thing about this profiles window is that if we go back into the edit tabs and click on this little gear icon, if I could speak. There we go. So this is saying, do I want to show the profiles panel or not? And on each tab that you have, you can choose whether you want the profiles panel to show or not. So it's not like an all or nothing kind of thing. So maybe on some tabs, you don't need the profiles panel, but on others, you do want it. And then you can actually scale down what profiles are shown. So if you have a benefits tab, maybe the only profile you want to see is the benefits profile, and then that can just be available on that tab. So you would just uncheck whichever ones you don't need. And then if I save that, those profiles will no longer be visible. You'll see that there's a lot less information here. So it's essentially scaling down what you're seeing to make your processes more efficient. So let's see, was there anything else I wanted to mention? Are there any specific questions on the employee profiles that anybody has right now? Okay, I don't see any questions now, so I'm probably going to pass it off. If you do have any questions or any additional concerns about this look, or if you need any help rearranging your look of the employee profile, please let us know in the comments or send us a message. But I'm going to pass this off to Chris, and he can take us through some payroll and timekeeping changes.
Oh, can you hear me? Okay, you got me. Awesome. So I'm going to be kind of covering the timesheet changes and then the time prep and payroll prep screen changes that that have been updated. What you're seeing on the screen now is it's basically the new timesheet. Again, not much has changed, but they've been updated to kind of, again, this new look. A few things may look a little different. You may see one or two minor changes, but they should primarily be cosmetic. But there's still been a few issues that I kind of want to cover and everything. So first is these totals up at the top. There's 4 options we can choose from. And this is basically, we can put any sort of total you want at the top as long as it's hours or accrual related. So if you want to see, again, at the top here, I've got total hours worked and then total regular hours and total overtime hours. You could have total shift premium hours or shift differential hours, anything like that, per timesheet profile. So it kind of just gives you an easier overview of how they're getting paid, or how those hours are being allocated, rather than having to go to the calc detail or calc summary tab, which sometimes can be more confusing or something like that. So these can be very customized to whatever you guys need. You just need to reach out to us so we can get those set up for you. The other part is obviously the kind of left-hand pane. On the left here, you see the schedules are now shown on the left. I believe before they were kind of on the right-hand side in a right column. And then any exceptions as well. If you have exceptions, those early in punches, late out, missed lunch, anything like that, you're going to see them right above the day with a red exclamation right here. In addition to that, if we need, let's say, this employee worked 9 to 8 p.m. On Monday, and we needed to add an additional line for them, you just need to hit that plus button and it'll add a line for you automatically. And you can do that as many times as you need to, or just hit the trash can to delete the line. By default, the system, if it is the current day or today's date, it will automatically create an additional line for you. Even if they've clocked out for the day, it's still going to show an additional line. And then once the day is over, that line will go away if there's no data into it. So don't worry if you see an extra line, nothing will happen. And once it comes midnight, that'll go away. And then Friday, the next day, would show an empty line until they punch in. That's pretty much it for the timesheet changes. Again, I know some of it may look a little bit more bolded, or some of these may have just rearranged the order of them or anything. But overall, it should pretty much be rather similar to what you've seen before. And if you have any issues or questions about them, or something's not working right, obviously just reach out to us and we'll get you taken care of. But the main thing is just a lot of the additional line items and everything have been moved off to the left here. And then you can delete anything you need to from there. So moving on real quick, and I'm gonna roll through these rather quickly just because I know a lot of you are still pretty familiar with it, is the time prep and pay prep changes. So again, nothing has technically changed on these processes, but it definitely does look a little different, even more so than the timesheets. But most everything that you've seen before should still be there. And this is kind of like a step-by-step guide of kind of processing everything. And I'm gonna just show you how quick it can be to go through, even if you have outstanding items. So at the end of the pay period, most of us have to, whether a TLM or payroll client, most of us kind of have to follow the process to approve the timesheets and lock the pay period down. You can see that we've got a couple errors and things to complete here. So I'll go ahead and get started. So again, nothing's changed. Same steps as before. On the left, similar to the menu on the left that Tony was showing, this is like a quick jump to menu. So if you wanted to jump right down to the pay calc process step, you can. Again, this screen's not nearly as big, so a lot of times you can kind of view it all in one screen, but it is there just in case you need to reference it. So from here, again, just like before, we see that there's 4 unapproved time off requests. We see a little error message there. You would just want to hit view pending time off requests. As administrators, typically you can override these even if a manager is supposed to approve them or reject them. You could go in here, look at all the outstanding requests, select them all, and then approve or reject as necessary. Then we hit the back button in the top left. Same thing, process records. This is one of those steps that you kind of just need to do to get all the timesheets ready for payroll. Just click on process records, hit OK, good to go. That step really hasn't changed at all. Create payroll interface file. If you do export an interface into another payroll system, you would just hit create payroll interface file. This has changed a little bit, this screen, but again, everything is still technically there. To download the file, you just click on the file name right there on the left, and it'll start downloading into your browser immediately, and you can pull it up. If you're curious on any filters or anything, you can hit these 3 dots, and then you can check on the filter, Most of the times you shouldn't have to, and if something needs to be changed, we can do that. But I know there are a few clients that do need to check on that. So the three dots right there, you can kind of view further details, but you just need to click on the export file, the words on it, and it'll download immediately. Once you're all set, there's no more issues, time off requests, or timesheets that need approved. We can go ahead and lock the pay period like we've seen in the past. And now all the timesheets are locked. You'll notice up here in the top left, there is like essentially like a status bar of where you're at in your process. As long as you're hitting the the little checkbox on the far right to acknowledge that you've completed the step, this will update and you really should be 100% complete after you're done with this screen. If you're not, it's most likely because you just forgot to acknowledge that a step was completed, or you may have missed the step and you need to go back and do it. Hit finish, and that's it. We're 100% done with the time prep. Now, again, I know quite a few of us, that would be the end of our process there, but for our payroll clients, that's one part of the process. We got all the timesheets ready, and now we need to go to payroll. At the very bottom, typically you'll see go to payroll prep, just link, just as you normally would. You just click on that and it'll bring you to this screen. Again, same process as before. Nothing's really changed. It just looks a little different. So same thing as before. We have the jump to little menu on the left here. Same with our progress bar in the top left to kind of see where we're at. If we finish with all our pre-processing tasks, making sure deductions, employees are hired, all that stuff, we can go ahead and mark it as complete. And then it'll timestamp it for you, let you know, yes, this is complete, and then it'll let you know when you actually hit that button, just in case we need to reference it later. And again, notice the task bar got updated there. And again, that is really it. These next few steps have not changed at all. They're just a little bit more bolded into the system, but everything else is the exact same. And I will say, on kind of touching on the bolded part, there are other areas in the system that, I say areas, mainly reports in the system that may look a little bit different. And the main reason is Java was removed with this update. And because of that, it improves system performance by quite a bit, actually. You should be able to scroll faster, reports should pull up faster if you have a bunch of data pulling in. But some of them may look like a little bit blurrier, or one thing might be moved over here now. You should still have all the same data, but some of them may look just a little bit off. You can't quite pinpoint it, but it's because that Java was removed, and it really does help system performance. I promise you that. So just wanted to mention that because I know there's been some questions on that previously. But other than the time and payroll side of things, timesheets were the main thing. But again, most of it's cosmetic. Everything's really should be there that you've seen before. If you're really curious on what something might do or what you need to do, just hover your mouse over a link, or almost anything in blue is something you can click on, and it'll kind of tell you what it can do. There's not a lot you can break necessarily. If anything, you might not want the action you did, and you can just delete it. So don't be scared to kind of play around, or if you're uncertain about something, just go ahead and, I say, test it yourselves. You're not going to break something we can't fix rather quickly. So yeah. So at that point, I'll kind of leave it open for questions and everything. If you guys have anything specific, please definitely type it in the chat box or shoot us an email, and we can definitely get you taken care of.
Thanks, Chris. Yeah, so feel free to start typing in your questions. What's the best way to reach out with timesheet questions? That's going to be our services email, and I will drop that in the chat box so that you guys have it. Let's see.
I got it, Tony.
Oh my goodness. Okay, thank you. I'm like, I always have to start a new email. I need a quick.
Oh, I put 2 ats in there. My fault. Let me get you that right email. Yeah, this email address, really all issues should be going to this email, and it'll create a ticket. And we'll, like, if I'm your account manager or anything, the ticket automatically gets assigned to me, but you can track the progress of it, view any past tickets or issues for reference. So it's a really nice CRM to kind of make sure we're getting everything taken care of for you, but also so that you guys can kind of see where where you're at with each issue, so on and so forth. So. Sorry, and it's that second email address I put in there. Sorry about that.
That one's linked too, so you should be able to just click on it if needed.
Yep.
Yeah, and the other thing, kind of just to mention, I think the biggest part of the new UI is just the shock of the difference in the look of it. But as you continue to work in it, you start to see how things have not only really stayed the same, but improved. And it does make things easier in certain ways. And I know that UKG is working hard to fix some of the things that are broken, I guess, from the transition. So if there is anything that you come across that you're like, this isn't working the way it used to be, or I used to easily be able to do this and now it's so many more steps or it's much harder, please reach out to us, because we don't want your processes to be harder with this transition. The idea was to make things more user-friendly, to make things easier on you. So if there is something, we would love to have the opportunity to assist you in making that process easier. So I know I've had a lot of clients reach out to me with dashboard updates, making things easier so that you don't have to navigate in the menu. There's quick links that we can set up on your dashboard. There's a lot of new tiles that are available on the dashboard to make things easier for employees to view their pay statements, get to their timesheets, enroll in benefits, things like that. So if there's anything that has been on your mind or has been frustrating, we're here to support you. So just wanted to throw that out there, my little spiel.
It was a good spiel, Tony.
Thank you, Chris. Any other questions? I always hope it's a good thing when we don't get a lot of questions, but
I'm just waiting for the support email now to blow up after this call. Obviously, everyone will be
oh
emailing,
yeah,
but
yep,
we'll get you taken
we're
care of.
on deck. Yep, support team on deck. All right, well, I'm going to give it a couple more minutes just because we have about 3 minutes left that we allocated. Just in case anybody didn't answer or ask their questions. Let's see. I think I saw most of you on the last training, so hopefully you guys knew all of this. Awesome. All right, well, I think we can close it out, Chris.
All right.
I don't see any more questions coming through. As always, you guys know where to find us. Chris dropped that support email in the chat. So if you don't know where the chat is, it's like a little, what is that?
Like a
comment
message. Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't know how to
a
describe
message
that.
icon. Yes. Conversation icon. On the app, it's like at the top, kind of in the middle. But the email is, if you can't see the chat, my whole point is the email is support@axiomhumanresourcesolutions.zohodesk timesheet.com. So if you do need to reach out to us with any questions, you can find that there. And then I also dropped the previous training that we did in the chat box as well, the YouTube link to it. If you aren't able to access the chat, feel free to email us and we can email you the link directly. But we will go ahead and wrap it up there. Thank you guys so much for joining, and I will send out a recording of this training as well.
Thanks, Tony. Thanks,
All right,
everyone.
thank you, Chris. See you guys later.